and welcome to the Growth Advantage. Today we're joined by Douglas McCormick, CEO of Pegasus Group. Douglas, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Very nice to come and talk to you today.
So to start us off, Douglas, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business and the role you play within it?
Yeah, so I started working life as an apprentice a long time ago, did apprenticeship as a QS. I've worked in construction most of my working life, and about 20 years ago moved from doing technical work to sorting out either problem projects or problem companies, and have since gravitated to taking companies that have the potential to be much greater than they currently are and looking at how to grow and expand them. So nothing fundamentally wrong with the company at all, very good foundations, but how do you build on those to build something bigger and better? So I've been with Pegasus a year. I was brought in as the first external chief executive. The rest of the senior directors in the business are the founders and owners of the business. But quite often when you've lived in the same forest all your life, it's sometimes difficult to see the trees. And so my external perspective was to help this company grow. So we do design, environment, we do planning, economics, transport, infrastructure, and heritage, all of which affect the built environment in one way or the other. Currently are about just over 500 staff.
Okay.
And we're growing rapidly.
Sounds it. And are you noticing any trends in your sector at the moment?
Well, kind of a universal trend of a shortage of good people in the market. That's always something that's been around for a while. Some of the Brexit did not help with that, candidly. That's not a political statement, it's just a fact. We're not able to attract the quality of workforce from the European Union and other countries that we once were. I think the other challenge is that you build from the bottom. So, you can either have a sheep stealing strategy for recruitment, where we just create revolving doors where people come in and go out at 10 grand a pop, or you start to take apprentices and graduates and begin to grow your own skilled workforce. Now, that's a longer term plan, but I think a bit of both is necessary to develop what you've got. I think the other major trend that has an impact is the huge consolidation in the market of smaller independent companies being swallowed up by very large corporations. And the downside of that is people who we're niche and boutique. People who work for us because they don't want to work as a small cog in a giant wheel somewhere or to be a number in tens of thousands of people. So that consolidation in the market means that people who don't want to work in that environment come and look at organizations like ours and think, actually, maybe I'd quite like to work there, because they still know people by name and value them as an individual.
And that's really important as well, to feel valued, for sure.
Yeah, well, everybody does pay in rations. Pay in rations comes as standard. It might be a little bit more here or there, but actually that you're loved and cared for and respected and valued for who you are and what you bring, the skills you bring to the organization, and ideally the diversity that you bring to the organization. The more diverse we can be, the richer our experience as an organization is, and the more we reflect the societies of which we're a part, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. And are you noticing any challenges in the industry right now?
I think there are a number of challenges. So we have an ambitious government who want to build lots of houses. But we can't necessarily get all the bricks we need to build those houses, and we don't necessarily have the labour to build those houses. Whilst actually planning is less of a blocker, building control inspection is slow, and then banks aren't lending mortgages to people to buy houses. So there's kind of a circle in that kind of area. And I think there's quite a bit of waiting to see what the spending review does and what happens to public sector spending following the Chancellor's announcements in the near future. But the world always goes on. And we're very pleased to be busy. We employ bright, clever people. More than 90% of our business is repeat business, and we are less challenged, I suspect, than others.
Yeah. No, and repeat business is always good, for sure. And are you noticing any developments that maybe might be making it easier for you to operate, or any that's making it harder?
I think digital is a double-edged sword. If you're 15, it's probably a blessing. If you're my vintage, then it's a bit more of a challenge. And the problem is a lot of organizations are run by people that look like me for obvious reasons rather than 15-year-olds. So I think digital is a blessing and a curse. And the staggering speed at which digital is moving in our industry, I think, is something that's quite a challenge. But the benefits of harnessing that. So I don't think we'll ever get rid of the human. I don't
No.
expect it to be replaced by robot. I think that ability to look at something with experience and go, yeah, that looks okay, or that's not quite right. Whether we'll ever get to that with robots, I don't know. I don't think we will. I do think that where they take some of the grungy bits or some of the grit out of the system, that is to be welcomed hugely.
Yeah, I agree. So if you could implement a system that did all the heavy lifting, using the power of AI, then why wouldn't you embrace them on that technology? And like you say, yeah.
It helps productivity, and things that used to take a day can take half an hour now, and all of that's good. I'm sure clients will catch on and the fees will come down, but that's another story.
And how about getting your message out there? And when it comes to marketing and advertising, how do you find, you mentioned you have a lot of referrals.
So we do most of our recruitment on LinkedIn, and we were recently nominated one of the top 15 companies in our size in the UK in which to progress your career. We've got a great marketing and communications team, so we're all over social media. And we have a PR consultancy that we use to promote us in industry publications. We're just back from a week at UK Reef in Leeds, where we had a stand and we had a VIP dinner and we had a drinks reception. And we've just in the process of, we've come through the cycle of our leases coming up for renewal on our offices.
Okay.
So we've been upgrading our offices and doing office launches, and we've got a sixth one to do. And then I think we're probably up to date for most of that. So being noisy in the public realm, we're very good at. Internally, introducing a new intranet that's much one of the things about intranets and organizations is they become like a black hole where you know that somewhere in there is the answer, but
it's trying to find it.
So we're looking at how we do our internal comms. And then once a week on a Thursday at 9:30 to 10, I do a CEO call with all staff.
That's brilliant.
Which is about news and gossip and welcoming new joiners, things that people need to know. And what that means is and then there's an open question and answer session that allows a two-way conversation about things that are happening in our business. And I generally get about 280 locations. So you might have a boardroom full of people, that's a location. But in 500 strong staff, we get a good representation and it's recorded. So if folk miss it, they can watch it. If you can't sleep at night and you need something to watch, you can watch my Thursday call and that might well put you to sleep.
I love that though. I think that's really great that you're so connected with all of your team. I think that's brilliant. And what about your competitive landscape, Douglas? What's that looking like?
It looks like it always has. And I don't really worry about the competitive landscape. No. I've got enough to do sorting us out. And the market is busy. The UK market is busy, particularly in the built environment. There may be other sectors where that's less true. So I have to say, I don't pay an awful lot of attention to my competitors. And the thing about competitors is I might be your competitor today, but I could be your partner tomorrow. And almost irrespective of the size that you grow your business to, you always need friends. There are two, I quite often joke, I have two favorite strategy books. The first one is Thomas the Tank Engine, because he had a friend called Douglas. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs friends. And actually, your competitor today may be your friend tomorrow. And so worthy rivals in the marketplace that you work with and that you compete against is a way of doing that. The second strategy book is Bob the Builder, because can we fix it? Yes, we can. And, those two strategy books I highly recommend. They're a lot more interesting than most of the strategy books you'll ever read.
I can imagine they would be. And what about a typical day for you, Douglas? Could you talk us through that?
Yeah, so technically I'm based in the London office, where I'm speaking to you from. I'm normally away 2 or 3 nights a week, and I don't have an office on principle. So I tend to commandeer a meeting room as I'm doing because we're having this conversation. But I generally sit amongst the staff. So my day will be in an office, talk to everybody in the office, and then I'll probably spend 2 or 3 hours doing meetings, catching up with people, going to see clients. And I also normally take around a day a fortnight to think. A day where I'm a mad paddleboarder and I live in a river, so I quite often take some time out and go out on my paddleboard with all my concentration of not falling in, which means that my mind's free to wander. I do quite a bit of my creative thinking when I'm out on the river. But I don't really have any 2 days that are the same, which is one of the things I really love about my job. I love the people. I love people. So I'm very happy to be in and about people. All of us spent too long staring at a screen in COVID times. It's very nice to get out and see people and meet them face to face. So today I'm in London, tomorrow I'm in Birmingham, on Thursday I'm in Cambridge, and on Friday I'll have a thinking day.
So busy then.
Yes. Yeah.
And what key metrics do you keep an eye on?
So I keep an eye on, around our people, I keep an eye on productivity, I keep an eye on attrition, as in voluntary leavers. What's the rate? And I keep an eye on well-being. So what does sickness absent look like? And between those three measures, I can get an idea of where the pressure points in the business are, who's under pressure. I can also see if there are any trends, people leave managers, not organizations. If the leavers trend identifies a single individual, then that may well be the problem rather than the person or people who are leaving. And sickness and well-being, just to look for those stress indicators, because actually work-life balance is a phrase that's overworked, but actually there's a duty of care to make sure that your people are not under such pressure that they feel obligated to work all the hours and days God sends. So I look at those. There are, of course, the usual financial indicators, and the one I really look at is profit. You need some revenue to make some profit, but I look at profit to see what's profitable, and I can do that down to a project level. So we can work out what projects are profitable, which clients are profitable to work for, which aren't. At the end of the day, to make sure that the business is profitable. And then my absolute key metric is cash. I look at cash every day. Because if you don't have any cash, you can be wonderful, but you're not in business if you don't have cash.
Cash is king.
Yeah, it is. Those, and then I suppose the last one we look at is our order book, our forward pipeline. How do we look like we're placed? We're a consultancy. Longer than 3 months ahead is unusual, but all of those give a picture. And I tend to look at those quarterly. So I might have a look in a month. What happens in a month happens in a month. That's the month. But quarterly, I do deep dives with each of the areas of the business, and we look at the trends. Because a trend can tell you if you're up or flat or down. And quarterly means you don't waste a lot of people's time every month. You spend some quality time once a month.
Yeah. No, absolutely makes sense to do it every quarter, like you say, to do that deep dive and to have a look and to make sure everything is as it should be. So yeah, makes sense. And what about for the next 12 months, Douglas? What's your goals? Well,
so ideally, I think we'll double again. The intention over 3 years is to double the size of the business, double the headcount, double the revenue, and multiply the profit. So growing the existing services across the office infrastructure that we have. Currently, we don't do everything everywhere, so we're looking where we could do more of the services we already offer. And then we're looking at the adjacencies that sit alongside our business and how we add things that sit comfortably within the area of the marketplace that we occupy. And that will allow us to grow fairly rapidly. That's the strategy to do that sits with me and how we actually make that work, which is a lot of fun.
No pressure.
No pressure.
And what matters to you the most in business?
I think the highest calling you can have in life is to be a decent human being, and I like decent human beings to work with. So in business as in life, I think personal responsibility is to be a decent human being, and that brings in trust and honesty and integrity and all the good things that you would expect. Remembering that we're a people business. We don't make widgets. We're a people business. It's all about people. And so all of that's very important to me. Yeah,
definitely. And if you could change one thing in your business to make it easier, what would that be?
If you could give me the 11-year-old's ability with an iPhone, I think I would be delighted.
Wouldn't that be ace? I have an 11-year-old with an iPhone, so yeah.
I think the adoption, the culture change, and getting our heads around the adoption of technology is a huge challenge. If I had something that made that easy, I suspect if it was easy, we'd all have done it by now. But that certainly would make a difference. A rapid, faster adoption of technology to do stuff that traditionally we have been more labour intensive around.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. And what are your biggest frustrations at the moment?
I suppose I always like to go faster. Pace is one of my favourite things. Let's get this done. Yeah. And I get frustrated at very, very few things. One of the things that frustrates me is when things are going too slow. And I have to balance that with the fact that change For some people, change is a complete ecstasy experience. For other people, it's the most frightening thing that ever happens to them.
Yeah.
And so you have to balance your pace with the ability of the team to adopt what you are doing. But yeah, if I was to pick out one thing, I get frustrated when it's all going too slow.
Wish you could speed it up a little.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hate bureaucracy. Too many bits of paper. I'm not too keen on too many bits of paper.
It does slow things down.
Well, I have a rule. So all reports need to be written on 2 sides of A4, nothing more. You may need to put some appendices in, but if you can't stick it in 2 sides of A4, you don't really know what you're doing.
I like that. Yeah, I agree.
It makes the board papers an awful lot easier to read.
Doesn't it? Yeah. You don't need a big board pack, 15
No.
pages long, just a couple of, say, a couple of sheets and get through it. Yeah. I've been there. Douglas, that's brilliant. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about your business?
We're a great bunch of people. If you're looking for a job and you're in our sector, come and join us. If you're a client and we can help you with anything, then we'll always be delighted to do that. And we're open for business.
Perfect. Well, Douglas, it's been brilliant chatting with you today. I really enjoyed learning and getting more insight into your business and what it is you do. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for the invitation. Lovely to talk to you.